Hi everyone, today we are going to study the baseline technologies of IoT. So, the baseline technologies of IoT means the top 10 emerging IoT technologies. So, today we are going to discuss the top emerging IoT technologies and the top 10 emerging IoT technologies. So, what are these top 10 IoT technologies? Number one is IoT security. IoT security, if we talk of IoT security, security technologies will be required to protect IoT devices and platforms from physical attacks, physical tampering and information attacks, right? To encrypt their communications and to address new challenges such as impersonating things or denial of sleep attack. Now, what are impersonating things? Impersonating means to impersonate. That means the attackers can easily act as an impersonator to impersonate other legitimate IoT nodes. This is what you call impersonating things. Any attacker when can impersonate as a legitimate IoT node, that is known as impersonating things. Or denial of sleep attack. What is denial of sleep attack? Denial of sleep attack basically prevents the battery powered sensor nodes from going into sleep mode. Now, sensor nodes run on battery. So, whenever the sensors are not sensing anything or whenever the sensors are not working, they automatically go to sleep mode to save their batteries from draining. But the denial of sleep attack would prevent the sensors from going into the sleep mode even when they are not working, leading to the drainage of battery and basically resulting in shorter sensor life. So for all these reasons, we need IoT security. IoT security basically will be complicated by the fact that many things use simple processors and operating systems that may not support sophisticated security approaches, because the devices till now are not prepared for IoT security and they use very simple processors. And for these security approaches of IoT, we need sophisticated security approaches and high-end processors and operating systems. The second most emerging IoT technology is IoT analytics. Now, IoT business models exploit the information collected by things in many ways, which will demand new analytic tools and algorithms. Now, whatever information is collected through the things in IoT, they are then used by business models for analysis. That means new analytical tools and algorithms would be required in future for the analysis of all the data that is collected by the IoT devices. The third emerging baseline technology of IoT is the IoT device itself, or the things that we call IoT device or thing management. So the long-lived non-trivial things will require management and monitoring, which obviously includes the device monitoring, firmware and software updates, diagnostics, crash analysis and reporting. So all this comes under your management and monitoring. And security management, of course, because security plays a very important part of the IoT devices. Tools must be capable of managing and monitoring thousands and perhaps millions of devices, which would keep getting added with the passage of time, and all the tools must be capable enough of managing and monitoring those large number of devices. The fourth emerging technology is low power short range IoT networks. So these low power short range networks will dominate the wireless IoT connectivity through 2025, far outnumbering connections using wide area IoT networks. However, commercial and technical trade-offs mean that many solutions will coexist and there would not be a single dominant winner. The fifth emerging baseline technology in IoT is low power wide area networks. So now when I say low power wide area networks, this means that the traditional cellular networks, as we all know, don't deliver a good combination of technical features and operational cost for those IoT applications that need wide area coverage combined with relatively low bandwidth, good battery life, low hardware and operating cost and high connection density. So emerging standards such as narrowband IoT will likely dominate this space. The sixth baseline emerging technology in IoT is your IoT processors. The processors and architectures used by IoT devices define many of their capabilities, such as whether they are sophisticated enough to support an operating system, updatable firmware, and embedded device agents. So understanding the implications of processor choices will demand deep technical skills to have high-end IoT processors. The seventh emerging baseline technology in IoT things is your IoT operating systems. Traditional operating systems such as Windows and iOS obviously were not designed for IoT applications, because the time at which these traditional operating systems were designed, IoT did not come into existence. So none of these operating systems were designed keeping IoT in mind. They consume too much power. The IoT devices consume too much power. They need fast processors and in some cases lack features such as guaranteed real-time response. So the operating systems that we are talking of right now, such as Windows and iOS, are the ones that consume too much power. So if you use them for high-end IoT devices, they are not powerful enough. They lack features such as guaranteed real-time response. There is no guaranteed real-time response in these operating systems, which is much needed in most of the applications of IoT. They also have too large memory footprint for small devices and may not support the chips that IoT developers use. Consequently, a wide range of IoT specific operating system has been developed to suit many different hardware footprints and feature needs. So basically we need different operating systems for these IoT devices. The eighth baseline emerging technology is event stream processing. So some IoT applications will generate extremely high data rates that must be analyzed in real time. To address such requirements, distributed stream computing platforms have emerged that can process very high rate data streams. Right? So systems creating tens of thousands of events per second are common, and millions of events per second can occur in some situations in case of IoT applications. So for such kind of applications only, you need such very high rate data streams. And such distributed stream computing platforms have now emerged that can process very high rate data streams and performs tasks such as real-time analytics and pattern identification. The ninth baseline emerging technology is IoT platforms. So the IoT platforms bundle many of the infrastructure components of an IoT system in a single product. So you can visualize a platform as a bundling or combination of many of the infrastructure components in a single product. The services provided by the IoT platforms fall in three major categories or three main categories. One is your low-level device control and operations, like your communications, device monitoring and management, security, firmware updates. So these all come under your low-level device control and operations. The second category is IoT data acquisition, transformation and management. And the third category is IoT application development, which includes event-driven logic, application programming, visualization, analytics, and adapters to connect to enterprise systems. The 10th and the last emerging baseline technology in IoT things or devices is your IoT standards and ecosystems. So standards and their associated application programming interfaces, which are also known as your APIs, will be essential because IoT devices will need to interoperate and communicate, and many IoT business models will rely on sharing data between multiple devices and organizations. All the data that has to be analyzed must be shared among multiple devices and organizations. Only then we can come on a better analysis. So all the IoT devices need to interoperate and communicate with each other to share that data. And many IoT ecosystems will emerge, and organizations creating products may have to develop variants to support multiple standards or ecosystems. Since in my first video itself I said that IoT is an ecosystem of things. So in an ecosystem, every component is interdependent upon the other component. You take out even a single component from among say 10 components, the system will crash. So IoT is basically an ecosystem in itself. So many such IoT ecosystems will emerge, and organizations which are creating products, they may have to develop variants of those products so that they can support multiple standards, because you cannot expect a single standard to run across the globe. So the developers will have to create variants to support multiple standards or ecosystems.